Welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight for a Q&A webinar with Mount Hood Ski Patrol. I'm Jess Joyner from Mountain Shop, and we're joined tonight by a group of veteran and new patrollers. Mount Hood Ski Patrol is near and dear to Mountain Shop hearts. Our founder, Everett Darr, was one of the first patrollers with Mount Hood Ski Patrol back in 1937 when the shop was opened. And we actually had a second location for a short amount of time up in Government Camp that served as a place where first aid supplies were stored, and there were beds in the shop for patrollers who were staying the night. So we've had a great relationship with them for going on something like 85 years. With that, I will turn things over to Mount Hood Ski Patrol. Welcome.
Welcome everybody. My name is Glenn Anderson. I am the recruiting director for Mount Hood Ski Patrol, and we welcome you and thank you for joining in this session. It is our goal to give you all the information and answer all the questions you might have if you may want to join our patrol. It's a great endeavor. It's a lot of work, but it's even more reward. First off, I'd like to thank Jess and the Mountain Shop for hosting this great event. We did this last year, and it was a great way to really tell our story and get more people informed. So thank you, Jess, for setting this up. We are going to have people that are presenting. Do you want to start the slideshow, or is it gone? Anyway, so I'm just going to give a few notes, and then I'm going to pass it off to Corey Tolsman, who's one of our Nordic patrollers. He is going to go over the history of Mount Hood Ski Patrol. And he is with, what are you, number 2, number 3, I think, years on patrol?
This is my rookie year on the Nordic Patrol.
There you go. So great addition to our team. After that, we are going to have Courtney Walsh do a segment on life of the patrol, just more the day-by-day things that we do to prepare and, you know, what we do all day long out there on the mountain. And that'll be followed up by one of our new apprentices, Mona Schwartz. Going through apprentice year this year, she'll give you great insight on to what her perspective is like about learning how to be a patroller. So a couple of things, just some misconceptions we hear a lot of times. We use the word ski patroller, but a big percentage of our people are actually snowboarders. So I get that question all the time. So we welcome snowboarders. They have certain advantages on the hill, and even have some tele-skiers. So that's one thing. You might hear the term hiller for you, those of you that are thinking about trying out for hill or associate. The training is the same. We all learn the medical program the same. We all open the mountain the same. Spend the most of our day outside and sweep. It's just that hillers pull patients and loaded sleds, and associates do not. So that's something that's good to know. Everything we talk about tonight is going to be on what I call a normal timeline, a non-COVID event, if you will. So keep that in mind. That can change. And plenty more information on our website, mounthoodskipatrol.org, under the Join the Patrol tab. So sit back and listen, and I hope you guys learn a lot. And feel free to ask a lot of questions, and might ask you to hold those to the end of the presentation. So with that, I will pass it along to Corey, who is going to get into the history of Mount Hood Ski Patrol.
Hey, Glenn, one thing to throw in before
Yes,
Corey
sir.
gets started. If anybody does have a question that you want to put in, I'll be watching the chat, and then I can pick some of those questions out, you know, as we go through the presentation. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Corey.
All right. Good evening, everybody. And thanks, Glenn, for the nice welcome. I'm just going to go over the kind of the history of our organization here. So you can see here's a group of patrollers lined up outside of Timberline Lodge here. So our history is pretty deep in the region on Mount Hood here. So you can go ahead and advance to the next slide. So right now, we are comprised of 165 active patrollers. We are all volunteer. This organization, chapter of the National Ski Patrol. And as you see, our mission is to provide safety first aid and patient transport if people get hurt on the hill. Next slide, please. Here's the various spots that you'll find the patrollers, pretty much all the main areas up on Mount Hood, Timberline Meadows, Ski Bowl, Teacup Nordic, where I patrol, and also now Summit as well. Go ahead to the next slide. So the main categories that we fall into will be the Hill Alpine. These are the guys that are going to be pulling the sleds down the hill. Associates, more of the first aid focused, but are also out on the hill skiing around. Nordic, like myself, we patrol out at Teacup Lake, assisting the Nordic skiing community. And then also in the summertime, there's also the bike patrol. Next slide, please. So the history, we can kind of trace it back in the 30s as the Timberline Lodge was under construction. Eventually, they needed to have the Timberline Road plowed to have the workers get up to the lodge to finish construction. Now, majority of the skiers during this time would make the trek from government camp all the way up to Timberline and then ski down. But once the road got plowed, that allowed people to drive up and ski down, which then really increased the number of skiers out and about on the mountain, which then, of course, led to more injuries. Let's go ahead to the next slide. So some of the, there's a couple different climbing groups up on Mount Hood at the time, the Wyest Climbers, which Everett Darr, who was mentioned earlier, was a part of, and also Barney McNabb is another club called the Nile River Yacht Club. As they saw all these increased injuries happening once that road got plowed, they basically implored the Forest Service to do something about it. So in 1937, you can see Hank Lewis was our first patroller hired by the Forest Service. Shortly after that, he helped found Mount Hood Ski Patrol, and then very short after that, the National Ski Patrol. So you can see the U.S. Forest Service crest there. The first round of patrollers each got this like silver badge that had basically this crest of the Forest Service, and we still use this crest as kind of the background of our Mount Hood Ski Patrol emblem. I think we're the only patrol that is allowed to do that because we have that designation in such a close relationship with the Forest Service in our history. You can see on the right, this picture here, these are the first type of sleds kind of used here. Looks not so fun. I think they were kind of modified dog sleds, if I remember right. So we've come a long way since those days, but that's what they used in those early days for transporting hurt people. Go ahead to the next slide, please. So in wartime, the mountain was pretty much closed down because a lot of people were out fighting. But during this time also, the 10th Mountain Division was formed, and they recruited heavily on the ski patrollers to fill those slots in that mountain division. And also, you can see on the lower right hand here, in 1949, one of the patrollers developed what's called the Johnson splint or quick splint. It's just a very quick way to immobilize an injured leg for transport down the mountain. And this has basically been widely adopted by pretty much every patrol out there. So, we definitely have a strong history of leadership in patrol, as you can see. Go ahead to the next slide. So one of our longest standing members here is Buzz Bowman, who has been here since the beginning, basically. You can see on the left-hand picture here, as he was a young man, in front of Dar's Mountain Shop, which was mentioned earlier in the beginning. This is Charlie's, the bar in downtown Government Camp. I'm sure you guys have probably driven by it or even had a few drinks there before. So that's where all the patrollers would meet up for the day. That was kind of the patrol headquarters for quite some time there. And one thing to note about Buzz, we also just recently renamed our building in Government Camp after Buzz Bowman with a ceremony, and also that you can see there's a Buzz Cut Run as well that was named after him. So he's a big big part of our history here. Let's go ahead to the next slide. So as we move on to the 50s and 60s, we started upping the game a little bit on the sled technology. We were able to see some film from some European mountain rescues, and they were using these Accia sleds. There on the left-hand picture here, it kind of has a curved bottom to it. So we were able to get a hold of a couple of those and modify it for use on Mount Hood. And they work so well that we basically used that design at the 1960 Winter Olympic Games at Squaw Valley. And also during this time, the mountain shop building kind of became a little bit too small. They wanted to expand the mountain shop a little bit. So we got the Forest Service to build what we used to just call the Govey building. It's now like the Buzz Bowman, I forget exactly what it's called, guys, but the Buzz Bowman Patrol Center, I think, is what it's called now. And that's also right in the heart of Government Camp. That's where we all meet up. There's some beds if you want to stay overnight. So go ahead to the next slide. So kind of our more recent history here. In the mid 70s, the Associate Patroller Program was launched. If you just wanted to be more on the first aid side and didn't want to haul the sleds around, we were able to make this new position for Associate Patroller. The snowboarding kind of started becoming popular in the 80s. And then by the mid 90s, we had our first snowboarder to join Mount Hood Ski Patrol. In 97, the MHSP and the Mount Hood Nordic merged together. In 2005, the Mountain Host program was initiated. Those guys directing traffic, greeting you in the yellow and black jackets. They're a big part of our organization as well. And then in 2016, we started patrolling at Teacup as the Nordic Patrol. And then just recently in 2020, we had first year for our official bike patrol. So as you can see, as the different activities have kind of changed and grown on the mountain, we've adapted and continue to support and treat people that are participating in all these different types of activities on the mountain. Go ahead, next slide. Okay, I think Courtney's going to take over from here. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Corey. Yeah, so my name is Courtney Walsh, and I am the Mount Hood Ski Patrol Council Secretary and also a toboggan instructor. And I've been on patrol, I was trying to do the math, 5 or 6 years. And it's pretty great. So I'm going to walk y'all through a pretty typical day and also some of the training requirements that come up throughout our time patrolling. So I think for everyone nowadays, with traffic and everything going up to Mount Hood, we know that the day has to start really early. Obviously, you can't call in on your way to patrol and say, oh, I got stuck in traffic or the parking lot closed before I got there. So one huge part of the job is that patrollers are there before the public, because a huge part of what we need to do is prepare the areas for the day. But I'll talk about that in more detail as we go on in the slideshow. So generally, we would meet up and kind of carpool as much as possible from the Bowman Patrol Center. Thank you, Corey. But previously known as the Guppy Building. And that's also where we are storing a lot of our equipment and first aid supplies that are provided by Mountain Hood Ski Patrol to patrollers. So, you know, your gloves, your bandaging, your wire splints, things like that. And where, you know, toboggans and things like that that we use for training and that we use are stored there. So kind of meet up there, get the gear and get up and get going. So, you know, definitely needing to have a mode of transportation that gets you to the mountain in all weather conditions. I mean, unless the resort closes, patrollers need to be there and they need to be there on time. And I think patrol is one of the areas where folks might have that saying of, you know, on time is late. You need to be there, be ready. And it's definitely an early day. So if you're not an early riser, you'll need to get over that, or maybe it's not right for you. So here we've got someone coming into the ski patrol room at Timberline. And then that's the photo on the left. The photo on the right is the stairs leading up to kind of the ski patrol room at Ski Bowl, AKA the castle. I don't think we have a photo of the Nordic Center kind of ski patrol cabin where they have a little, I think, fire pit outside, right, Corey? Like nod. No.
No, the cabin at the Nordic ski area has the fireplace inside.
Even better. And
Yeah.
then of course at Meadows, the patrol room is located above the clinic. And then of course there are more patrol areas that are kind of situated along at each resort. But you get there in the morning, bring your gear in, you boot up. So here we're in the locker room at Timberline. Now, I think one thing that when talking with folks riding on the chairlift or whatnot, one thing that folks commonly maybe are confused about is Mountain Hood Ski Patrol is a different organization where we supplement the paid patrollers who work at these different areas. We are a volunteer organization, and on Mountain Hood Ski Patrol, you have the option to patrol at multiple resorts. Many of us kind of have a home resort where we are most confident because each resort has slightly different protocols and things like that. But generally, we are supplementing the paid patrol staff there on weekends and busy times, and we work together with them. And I don't think the public can really tell the difference between them and us. You know, we do the same things except for avalanche mitigation, which is a paid patrol responsibility, and some other kind of staff kind of required things. So, but we share their spaces. We try not to be in their way too much. We try and be more of a help than a hindrance. So in the course of the typical patrol day, of course, we need to start out with a morning meeting. We need to talk about weather, snow conditions, possible avalanche conditions, events for the day. So sometimes there will be a race or several races, or there will be a contingent of folks who are visiting from a certain organization and they need extra support. And at the morning meeting, we would assign out opening tasks and kind of head out with certain jobs that we know we need to do. So quick meeting in the morning, establish the plan for the day and go from there. Corey, is there anything that you do differently on the Nordic side, team meeting wise?
No, very similar.
Just kind of meet up, make a plan for the day. Definitely important to talk about conditions and the weather. And then one of the best things, and of course, if the weather is horrible, it can be one of the worst things too, but we do get to be the first folks out on the mountain. We get to check the area for safety and make sure that the snow is okay and that everything's okay. But truly is our job to go out and prepare the area for the public. So things like drilling in the signs, maintaining the bamboo lines, the rope lines, tower pads, things like that, looking for obstacles, marking obstacles, and also checking the supplies. So here on the left, we have our own, I think that's Dave Winterling, I believe, right, Dave? Is that you? Probably scraping ice off of the bottom of a toboggan. Of course, you know, we want to have those ready to go, because if someone needs assistance and they need transport off the mountain, you want to be able to just pull one of those down and ski away with it. You don't want to be messing around checking to make sure that it has the medical supplies that it needs to have with it, that the handles are attached properly, and that it's not rimed over with ice. Tower pads is preferably a 2-person job on a powder day. I know it's difficult for me to get those dug out of the snow by myself sometimes, but you definitely warm up quickly when you are doing opening, especially if there's been a lot of snow. And then, I mean, for the majority of the day, we just want to be out and about and want to stay out on the snow and want to patrol and be available to, you know, of course, make sure that the conditions are okay and that everything's going well out there. Get a lot of runs in. You know, we do get to go in the special ski patrol line at the chairlifts, but we do want to try and make sure that we don't just ski up and expect to get the next chair, and, you know, want to be public facing figures. So we're always out there making sure that we're being a positive representation of Mount Hood Ski Patrol. So, I mean, we're not going to be out there ducking ropes or skiing unsafely, or, you know, being not good examples of safety and respect for the mountain. A lot of folks just come up and have questions about, you know, directions, or, you know, what time does this area close, or how do I get down here using a green run? How do I get back to the lodge? I'm out of my depth. Typical patrol day kind of on Nordic as well, Corey. I've never patrolled over a teacup, so.
Yeah, we definitely do a lot of skiing, and you just, you know, available to answer any questions, or, you know, point people in the right direction, you know, provide feedback if they're asking for a certain type of run or how to get to point A to point B. You know, that is, you know, unless there's an actual case, then of course we would respond. But yeah, very, very similar in that aspect.
Right. So we all have walkie-talkies. We're all on the same walkie-talkie station. So you're always needing to be listening to what's going on the radio in case a case does come up. You know, you'll get the location, and you'll need to kind of know, you need to know the areas well enough to know where you are and know how to get to a case and get there quickly, and know whether you can make it there or not. So that if you hear something is happening, you can say, hey, I'm the closest one. I'll go check it out, see what's going on, and get there quickly. And I also don't want to overlook the huge help that the mountain hosts, who are in the, as Corey said, the bumblebee colors, the yellow and black jackets, they are part of Mount Hood Ski Patrol as well. And those folks are a wealth of knowledge in terms of answering questions. They know everything that that there is to know, and often will show up first on scene and manage crowding and safety. You know, if somebody gets hurt at the bottom of a jump, you want to make sure that somebody's going to make sure that nobody else is going to come over that jump and hurt anybody else or hurt your patient. So yeah, you definitely want to kind of plan on having your own food with you. You never know what's going to come up during the course of the day, or at least I don't. So I always like to make sure that I have plenty of food to get me through the day. This photo is taken inside of the Rescue Center, aka RC, which is that top ski patrol shack at the top of Upper Bowl at Ski Bowl. And it's where, you know, patrollers are kind of meeting up. And of course, as Glenn said, keep in mind, these photos were taken pre-pandemic. You know, there definitely have been a lot of changes to the way that we've operated things. On Mount Hood Ski Patrol, there wouldn't be this many folks in the same space, you know, sharing a meal, but hopefully we can get back to something that feels a little bit more normal. So there's an example we have of a very friendly looking, helpful mountain host kind of helping to manage the case. So some folks will want to join Mount Hood Ski Patrol and they don't feel quite ready to make the huge time commitment for, all the medical training or the toboggan training, or they don't feel quite confident enough with their ski or snowboarding skills. Maybe the Mountain Host program is a good place to start. And we get a lot of folks who go through the Mountain Host program, learn a lot about the areas, and end up moving over to patrol as well. But here, you can see this is what we're up here to do. As Corey said, help folks if they get hurt or if they get sick. In the morning, a big part of our work is to try and prevent things from happening to folks, but sometimes there's just nothing you can do and folks get hurt. So you can see, medical care and transport. So like Glenn had said, and like Corey said as well, you could be an associate patroller or you could be a hill or alpine patroller. And the difference between those are the hill/alpine patrollers are those who are trained to, as you can see this top right photo, take the toboggan with a patient in it safely down the hill. And if it's steep enough, then you'll have someone tail roping behind you. You can see that person in the back. That's called a tail roper. And they just add an extra anchor and support. And I think down here on the bottom, we've got, I can't see that photo very well just because I'm presenting and I've got bubble photos of other presenters up over the top of that. But that looks to me like we're loading a loaded toboggan onto a chairlift. Yes. So that's
Yeah, that's correct. That's for uphill transport at Timberland.
Yes. So skiing around and then also sitting on what we call bump, which would be where you are basically just waiting at a high point on the mountain to always be up above an accident, to always know that there's someone up above who can quickly ski or snowboard down to where someone is injured or sick. Whilst the rest of the patrollers are out, skiing around or in the lodge or, doing whatever, there are always folks who are sitting on what we call bump to be ready to respond. And of course, you want to be uphill from potential accidents so you can quickly get to where they need to go. And then at the end of the day, different times of when the ski or when the chairs close, we need to perform a sweep of that area. So for example, at Timberline, we start sweep high on Palmer, and then the next one we sweep, the mile chair closes and we need to sweep all of mile. And so we're assigning patrollers to each of the runs on mile just to make sure there's nobody left out there. And just kind of make sure that everyone's going down the hill. And then next we would go to Norms, we would sweep Norms and then sweep Jeff Flood and Poochie and Molly's if it's not night skiing. So just making sure from the start of the day to the end of the day, before the guests arrive, making sure that the guests make it home safely, just making sure everybody's safe. And then Mountain Hood Ski Patrol is a pretty social, pretty close group of folks. We all have several things in common in terms of our love for the outdoors and mountain sports. And so after action debrief, here we are again at the Bowman Center. And again, this is pre-pandemic. But talking about the day, it's important. Sometimes things happen throughout the course of the day that we need to discuss and troubleshoot. And also sometimes we just want to chit chat. In the winter, on the weekends, the Palmer lift doesn't run up at Timberline because the snow level is too high for the Palmer lift to run. That's another question that we get asked all the time. Why isn't that lift running? Because the chairs can't clear the snow level. So they operate cat skiing. And of course we get to go up in the cat, and somebody has to sit up there at the top bump position at the top of Palmer, on the top of the world, it feels like, and make sure that if someone gets hurt up there that you can get down to them quickly and take care of them. And so that's pretty fun in the winter. And then in the summer, you can ride the chairlift and ski on Palmer. And I think Dave said he's skied 12 months of the year a couple times now. So yeah, we're pretty lucky up at Mount Hood where we have a really, really long season. And even after your training year, you would be finished training in about May, and you wouldn't have to wait to start patrolling right away. You can start patrolling right away in May and get some experience in over the summer, and not just skiing, but also biking, which I thought was the next slide, but it's not. So now we've got our ongoing training requirements. So this is what recurs. So we do our training every year on an annual cycle. The medical portion, which our medical training is called outdoor emergency care. The medical training is split into 3 equal parts, and we refresh on A, B, or C every year. And it's a full day of training. I think there's almost always online coursework ahead of time, and kind of refreshing and some extra reading and studying, of course, that needs to go into going into training in scenarios, situations. So we are evaluated on a yearly basis on our medical skills. And of course, in the event of a chairlift issue, we all are also trained. Or is it just hill/alpine patrollers that are trained, Dave?
Traditionally, it's everybody. It's SOAP patrollers and associates. We cut down the group size during the pandemic.
Okay.
But we do want to go back to training everybody on patrol on chair evac every year.
Yeah, in the case that a chairlift needed to be evacuated, you would want as many trained folks as possible to be able to, help get the public out of that chairlift quickly and safely. So we do a yearly training on that, and I will say that it's really fun training. And the toboggan refresher is required every year for all hill patrollers. That can be as simple as a check off from a toboggan instructor, or you can attend a toboggan enhancement seminar, which is an entire day of training, where we're training on, toboggan skills and the handles, tail roping skills, dealing with your empty toboggan, how to get it up on a chairlift, whether you're, loading it one way or another, and, recovery techniques and things like that we refresh every year to make sure we are safe. And then we all are CPR certified. We get recertified every 2 years, and that training is also provided through Mount Hood Ski Patrol. And then on a 3-year cycle, we do our avalanche training, which involves snow assessment and a mass casualty incident scenario practice and beacon shovel probe practice. I just did mine on Sunday, and it's always awesome. In addition to our regular patrolling responsibilities, because Mount Hood Ski Patrol is a nonprofit organization, we do need to do fundraising. And so one of the biggest ways that we bring in funds to help support the cost of running our organization is we sell these snow park permits at Snowvana. And I wonder how many folks attending this webinar actually talked to some of us at Snowvana this year, because that's also a big recruitment event for us as well. We also provide first aid at a lot of local running events like the Grateful Dad race and Run Like Hell and the Country Girl Marathon. And that's a really fun way to get out on our bikes in the city and provide first aid as well. And then, of course, up at Ski Bowl for years, we've been patrolling in the summertime at Ski Bowl's Adventure Park and bike course, but now Timberline has their mountain biking trails as well. And so that is it for my portion of the presentation. So I'll pass it on to Mona, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, take it away, Mona.
So I'm going to talk about joining MHSP, what the tryout looks like, and then also what your first year will look like. So next slide. So tryouts are coming in hot. They are on Saturday, March 19th. They happen at Ski Bowl, and they are just a ski tryout. There's no written test. You will be skiing 2 or 3 laps in the upper bowl, and these are just for folks who want to try out for hill or associate. This is not a Nordic tryout day, and you'll be wearing a bib when you try out, so you don't have to get a lift ticket. You should just be a chunk of the day. If you want to stick around and ski the whole day, you can get a discounted lift ticket. And they're just looking for you to be teachable, a strong skier, and that you have some basic skills that are essential for patrol. So it's a fun day, not too stressful. Next slide, please. And many, many reasons people join MHSP. For me, I was really excited and am about this community of amazing humans. I'm only like 6 months into my first year and have such close friendships with people in my class and with the whole community of patrollers. It's a way to take your experience on the mountain up a major notch from going to just loving to ski or ride on the mountain, and now be able to support and give back and really make a difference in people's lives up there. And you also learn amazing skills. This OEC class, which I'll talk about in the next slide, is really incredible medical training and will help you in any outdoor endeavor that you're doing. So there's a ton of reasons. You also get the first tracks, you're out there skiing, so it's a lot of fun. Next slide, Courtney. OEC, so the first year is a big year with this medical class. Our class is having a different experience with COVID. It's been a bit funkier, but in a normal year, which we're hoping for next year, that would start out in early September, and you meet usually on Tuesday nights every week for a few hours, and you learn all kinds of things that are super relevant and important, and it's super hands-on. It's a lot of work, but it's super fun. And you also do, you read through a book, you do weekly quizzes, you have a 100-question test at the end, written test, and then you also have a few scenarios tests to make sure you're all ready to go. And the location varies. We're doing ours actually at the Mountain Shop right now, but often they will happen at a hospital, or there are different locations for those. So it's a big, big year, but it's great knowledge. Next slide. And then in addition to that OEC, which takes place during the fall, you'll also have on the mountain training in your first year, which starts usually in January once that OEC wraps up. And it's typically about 10 weekend days throughout the fall or the winter to learn about the on the mountain training. And that's the bread and butter of patrol. Next slide. In the first year, these are the costs. They're higher than most years. In a typical year, you're just paying your dues to Mount Hood Ski Patrol and NSP. In the first year, you have those dues, and then you also have the cost of your OEC course, your book, and then the CPR class, which is every 2 years after that first year. And then you have the fuel to get up to the mountain, and you can often carpool with other patrollers. And then after that first year, you have some of the gear of the red jacket, and some of the other stuff you need for patrol, but pretty minimal, all things considered. Next slide. And that wraps it up. Here's a great photo of the patrollers. I'll turn it back over to Dave or Glenn.
So that wraps up our presentation. The last picture was from our 75th anniversary party up at Timberline Lodges. It shows you how vast our patrol is. Got some mountain hosts out there on the left. So like everybody's alluding to, this is just a great group of individuals. And I just love that we're all there for one common bond. We do also have online our patrol chief, Dave Winterling, who's going to help answer any questions you have. So with that, let's just get right into them. Let's see, I'll go ahead and take the first question. Ask about the timeline for the tryout day. So traditionally we would have, pre-pandemic, we had everybody show up in the morning at government camp, and we would lump together. The tryout's going to consist of 2 aspects. It's going to be a pretty simple ski evaluation on the upper bowl, and that's going to be probably 2 runs, maybe a warm-up run.
Snowboarding too.
I'm sorry?
Snowboarding too.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. So snowboarding or skiing, you'll just be put into groups of probably 12 people, split into two, and get evaluated on just this pretty basic ski skills, things like carving, turning, weight distribution, things of that nature. Then we used to come back across the street and have a sit-down interview, which is the second part of the tryout. Because of the pandemic, we have moved that portion to an online version that follows up within usually a couple weeks after the tryout. So the tryout can be as simple as just showing up. You'll put a bib on, that'll get you access to the lift chair, get your 2 to 3 runs in, and then you can be done. We are working on, I think we got clearance to have a discounted all-day lift ticket. So if you want to come in the morning and warm up and ski all day and stick around, that works as well. And then I'm also seeing if we can feasibly make a way to spread people out. So maybe you have an afternoon slot to show up and don't have to stand around all day. But it can be literally over within an hour if your timing's right. I hope that answered the question.
Hey, Glenn,
Yes,
just
Dave.
one thing to add. I think you mentioned the start time is typically 7 or 7:30 for tryouts.
Well, that's just to get some people, we've worked the last few years to really streamline things. Obviously, we can't get on the chair. We always try to get a little early start to that, but we might have to wait till 9 o'clock to start loading people on the chair. So,
So what happened last year, we had a really good turnout. We had everybody arrive at the same time. The first group of folks up on the mountain probably got out of there by 11, like Glenn said, first chair up at 9. The folks that were in the second or third group, it ended up lasting longer. And we made the decision that for this year, we're going to plan to try to stagger the start times so folks don't have to stay up there so long. There were some folks that were up there from 7 or 8 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon, and that was longer than we wanted.
Good point. So I'm confident we can come up with a solution for that.
I'd also like to say, I think a question that gets asked frequently is, what will tryouts look like? What will they ask me to show? And like Mona said, we're looking for folks who are teachable. I think that's kind of one of the number one things. So keep that in mind on the day of tryouts. And they want folks who are comfortable and safe and in control on, whatever your skis or your board. They'll give you an example, before they ask you to demonstrate a skill, but they'll be wanting to see what you are like on the groomed runs as well as off-piste. And, we don't get to control the conditions, and that is part of patrol. You need to be fine in kind of whatever the conditions are on the groom and off-piste. And they'll, ask you to kind of show different turns and things like that. And again, they'll explain what that is to you. But, going into the tryouts day, they're going to want to see that you are in control. So that's something to keep in mind. A little hot tip for folks who came to the webinar. They get to know that in advance.
Well, I will also add that for anybody that's would like to know, I can send an email with a couple video links on things they're looking for. Turns, the way you make your turns, if you slide out. But so just reach out to the website, the email address, and just make a mention you'd like to see the videos, and I'll be happy to pass those along to anybody that wants them.
Looking at the Q&A, I see Allison is here. Allison, one of our patrollers. Allison, I think Glenn or Dave will send you the poster. Yeah. And then looking at this other question in terms of the commitment, like Mona said, if y'all don't mind, I'll answer the commitment question. Like Mona said, the first year is it's a big commitment. You've got your Tuesday night classes, and in addition to that, you've got studying and reading and online quizzes and practicing and all of that. And then kind of once that medical training piece wraps up, then you've got weekly, well, for the alpine / hill training, which is, ski and snowboarding skills with toboggan handling skills, it's weekly. So you would kind of have to say, okay, I can do all Saturdays or all Sundays, and you'd be on either a Saturday team or a Sunday team. And there can be some flexibility with that. If you need to miss a weekend and you want to do a double header Saturday and Sunday, you can do that. But you would need to kind of plan to be around for pretty much every weekend of that first winter for the training year. And then after that, you have a lot of flexibility in terms of what you decide to do. So yes, it's generally always a Saturday or Sunday. You can choose. We have teams on Mount Hood Ski Patrol at Meadows and at Ski Bowl and at Timberline. So you might want to join a team, or you might be kind of a floating patroller who comes and patrols kind of anywhere, really anytime. So you would get to kind of decide what days, but if you sign up for a day, you need to plan to be there from opening assignment to sweep, and you need to be there on time. You need to be there all day. And that's that. So looking at what time the Tuesday trainings are, there in the evenings. I think, do they start at 6:30, Mona? 6:30? 6?
Yeah, right now 7, but I think usually a little earlier.
Yeah, so evening until 9:30 p.m. So that's, for me, that's a late night. And then once trained, what's realistic to expect and what's the minimum? I think the minimum is 8 days per year. Is that right, Dave?
Yes.
8 days per season?
Yes, although for our members, we gave a waiver on that for the last 2 years because of the pandemic. There were some folks that were not comfortable coming up and participating on the hill. But normally, minimum of 8 on-hill patrol days. And we also have 2 training days, and that's the medical refresher and the cherry vac session that Courtney mentioned before.
So I hope that answers all the questions in terms of the commitment piece. And then the question about the email, I saw Glenn added the email address. I also want to say we have a YouTube channel, Mount Hood Ski Patrol, and there aren't examples of like tryouts, but there are examples of what you could expect to kind of get into as a patroller in terms of, toboggan and just ski skills and drills and things like that.
Courtney, can I add one thing about the commitment? Question does come up about patrolling during the week, and the reality there is the resorts don't really need our help during the week outside of the Christmas holiday and spring break. So it is pretty much a weekend commitment kind of a situation.
I do know to some of the areas that have night skiing, they do open options for Mount Hood Ski Patrol to come and help out, patrol with night skiing as well. I think, they're happy to have support whenever we're available. In the summertime, I've helped out at Timberline in the weekdays because they're just like, sure, yeah, why not? And then in addition to the winter break and spring break, when they have like US holidays, like a Monday off or something, they'll often open up opportunities for Mount Hood Ski Patrol to come up and supplement on those days as well.
Yeah, I'm going to be at Ski Bowl this coming Friday. There's a race going on and they needed some help for that. So those things come up.
Now I'm looking at the chat instead of just the Q&A. Requirement for scheduling and shifts during the season. I think we got that one. Yeah, it's I'd say more of a 12-hour day than an 8-hour day. 8 to 10.
I just said 8 in there. Depends on the day, but yeah.
8 to 10 is good.
Can
Maybe
Zoom.
I'm counting driving time.
Totally.
Unless you work at Meadows, and then that might be slightly longer.
Ooh, Elena, we know you. Can you do a preview day? That's a great question. Thank you for asking. Dave, do you want to talk about shadow days, or Glenn or Mona or Corey?
Yeah, I can cover that. We like to do shadow days. I had a potential recruit join me for a shadow day about 3 weeks ago. You know, they'll just meet us in the morning, and we will attend the morning meeting and do the chores and come along while we run cases. And I think it's number one, it's really fun. Number two, you learn a lot about what patrollers do all day. So it's a good way to find out whether you want to join. So I know any day I'm on the Hill, I'm always happy to bring a shadow. We have high school kids in one program that shadow us. We have our apprentices like Mona come up and do extra shadow days. I had another shadow person yesterday. So if you talk with Glenn, if you go on our website, the recruiting link is where you can go in and send emails. And after you've filled out an application through our website, then you'll probably have Glenn's email address, the recruiting director. And if you just make the request, hey, I'd like to go up and do a shadow day, we love doing that. That's no problem. We like the help.
I would add too that this whole topic, one thing that's really important on patrol, these days can be long and we like to be organized, is just really good communication. Whether you want to try to get into something like a shadow day, or maybe you're going to be late, just make sure you're very forward thinking about who and what you communicate with.
Any other questions? So if not, Glenn, I'm sure you probably mentioned in here somewhere, but the last thing I had mentioned, the follow-up is if you listen to this and you're interested, that first page there, our barcode, you can go to that. That'll take you to our website where you can sign up, fill out an application. And Glenn will then schedule you into tryouts on March 19th. You'll get an email with all the information. Or you can just look for mounthoodskipatrol.org, Google that and come to our website, and you'll see a button for join the patrol, and that'll take you into the same application process to sign up for tryouts.
And there's a lot of information on that section as well. And the link to that email, you can send an application, you can ask me any kind of questions, and I'll get back to you pretty quickly.
And I do, once again, want to throw in a thank you to the Mountain Shop. We mentioned it briefly, but our first aid classes every week for our new members, they're happening on Tuesday nights at the Mountain Shop, and the Mountain Shop was nice enough to give us the floor space for that, starting at 7 o'clock every Tuesday. So we really appreciate that. And one of the members there, one of the team members at the Mountain Shop, is a new patroller with us. So that's part of a long history